Okay, so uh, I'm doing another video, and it's within minutes to hours from doing a video. Doing a video on the same day and period. So understand the reason I do this is because I see something that brings me to mind something I wanted to talk about, or maybe I didn't phrase it and word it in such a way to make it consumable and internalizable, so that there is critical understanding. So, anyways, I've talked about the media and how they are a detrimental force. Uh, I just did a video about how narratives pushed by those on top who have nefarious reasons, and it is critical to understand that it is nefarious, malicious agenda and reasons. Um, so, anyways, besides all that, David Dole, I mentioned him. I'm mentioning him on my videos, probably often enough to know that I follow David. I like David. Um, but that's the other thing. When I say I like and then I love, there is an important distinction here. I like David. I love Jimmy. Um, like is that I respect David. I think he has a lot to offer, but I don't love David. Um, I love Jimmy because um, because he in in many ways thinks more clearly, critically, and there's a more genuine, non pseudo intellectual, uh, both sides neutrality uh, thinking involved. Uh, but that's another thing that on my video I just recently posted about deep state narratives bleeding in, that we consume and internalize, and it's something I said I have done on the previous video. Like I even did it while I was doing the video, and then I used that to point out how that has bled in, and how that uh, confuses and muddies things. So, on to David. David posted a video about the NDP. It's a political party. It's not a liberal. It's more left, and even if you, I think you can even call it sometimes radically left uh, leaning. But really, uh, uh, but that's another narrative that's pushed. What it is NDP is more common sense, but they also, because they're people, they can have ideas that have been bled in that they just can't toss out. But the key important part is they're willing to grow, and 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 think outside and come up with more common sense, more inclusive policy drives and ideas. Uh, anyways, David did a great demonstration on his show about the NDP and how basically liberals and the media fixed it and rigged it to make it sound like that it was Trudeau and the Liberal government, and those members of the Liberal government who were the ones that got all these things recently, and gave them basically all the credit, except they did not mention, and they did not mention how the NDP played a key role for the half measures that the Liberals are getting credit for. And David showed a great example of how the polls on the NDP, the Green Party, the Liberals, and the Conservative parties, and how they fluctuated up or down, and so on and so forth, but how the NDP has basically stayed static and hasn't moved up, and that's because the media drove the narrative. They are the ones that gave all the credit to the Liberals of Justin Trudeau and his cronies. And the thing is that is what that gives a prime example of what I've been talking about. What I just did with the deep state one, where I titled it "What Do We Know About China and what we don't want to know." Something like that. I'm the type of person that I can do something and forget like, something as simple as the title I put in, exactly how I worded it, and that's probably because I don't place too much importance in that. I place more on what context I put in, what context I put in, what thinking I put in. So, anyways, also I'm the type of person that I can forget a name I just heard a couple of seconds ago. So, anyways, check out David Dole. And for those of you who are all confused with the deep state and establishment and all these other narratives, and how media propaganda narratives can change, and how we must invest in being invested in knowing, and how it's critical for us to bring about change and move forward. That's a great example of how things work, and how how the things that I talk about on my videos, how we can change it, and because then we can say, okay, so it's those in the media hierarchy and those who sit in front doing the propaganda and spewing the garbage are the problem. They're the ones that can be held partly responsible and play a big role in keeping those with nefarious motives in power. So, but as you know, I'm not talking just simply about the media. I'm talking about the whole infrastructure of the propaganda network infrastructure, which is all interconnected. And so you get a better idea when I say propaganda, when I say establishment, when I talk about when I use words from the narratives from the establishment. You get a better idea of an understanding of what I'm talking about, because I'm giving you an example. So check out David Dole and that NDP story that he put out. and and that hopefully will clarify the need to pay better attention, and to be more informed, because that gives us a clearer understanding. And when we have a clearer understanding, we can achieve goals. We can actually set goals. We can actually see a pathway, and build the road towards it. And so, and that's partly due about working the mental and physical aspect to bring balance to our spirituality, which is our balanced emotions that work in conjunction, and connected and balanced to give us a better critical understanding, overall understanding. All right, thanks.